Tasha Williams clutched her bag like her life depended on it, and for one moment, it did. A police dog's growl shattered the hum of the airport, teeth bared, eyes locked on her every move. Every step she took made the animal bark louder, desperate, warning of a danger no one else could see. The airport terminal was packed with travelers, rolling luggage, and overhead announcements, but Tasha felt completely isolated. 8 months pregnant, her body heavy, her nerves taut, she moved carefully toward the security checkpoint, trying not to draw attention. Yet, the dog's focus never wavered. It was fixated on her bag as if it contained something far more dangerous than anything she had ever carried. An officer stepped forward, his voice clipped and commanding. "Step aside, ma'am. Keep your hands visible." Tasha obeyed, her heart hammering, her free hand instinctively pressed to her stomach. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm pregnant. There's nothing dangerous here." But the dog's growls intensified, echoing across the terminal. Its leash strained against the handler's grip, the animal's instincts screaming in a language humans couldn't immediately understand. Travelers froze mid-step, watching the scene unfold. Some whispered, some pulled their children back, while others recorded videos on their phones. Tasha's bag, small but worn, felt impossibly heavy in her hands, its strap digging into her shoulder. Every second stretched painfully as the dog's barking grew more frantic, like a storm warning no one was prepared to hear. The officer glanced down at the dog, confused and frustrated. "Focus, Max. Focus," he barked, shaking the leash. But the dog refused to obey, its eyes locked on Tasha's bag, growls vibrating through the air like an unheeded alarm. Tasha's panic rose. She had flown countless times through this airport. She had always followed the rules, always kept her bag clean and harmless. Yet nothing mattered now except the animal's insistence. Suddenly, a loud clatter came from the baggage area, a suitcase tipping over, a faint metallic sound. The dog lunged, barking, straining, trying to communicate something urgent. It wasn't aggression aimed at Tasha. It was a warning, an instinctive alert that something hidden, something fragile, was in danger. Tasha's breaths came fast and shallow, her hands shaking. "Please, I'm not a threat," she cried again, hoping someone would see reason. But the officers were caught in their training, eyes scanning her carefully, hands hovering near batons and radios. The tension was unbearable, and the small crowd of onlookers held its collective breath. Then, almost miraculously, the truth revealed itself. Hidden inside a partially open luggage cart was a small, endangered bird, tangled in wires and straps, its wings fluttering helplessly. The dog had sensed the life inside the chaos before any human could. Its barking had been a desperate alert to danger, not a threat. The officers quickly understood, pulling the fragile creature to safety as Tasha's fears slowly began to subside. Tears streamed down Tasha's face, part relief, part disbelief. Her baby moved inside her, tiny kicks reminding her that life, in its most vulnerable form, had been spared. The dog, once a figure of terror, now stood like a silent hero, chest heaving, gaze still watchful but no longer accusatory. Travelers resumed their paths, whispers fading into the hum of announcements. But Tasha remained rooted for a moment, processing the near disaster. She had survived a moment where instincts, animal and human, intersected in a way that could have ended tragically. Every step toward the exit felt heavy but purposeful, a reminder of how close she had come to danger and how sometimes salvation arrives in the most unexpected form. That day, Tasha learned a powerful truth. Courage isn't always human, and heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they bark. Even after the bird was safely removed, Tasha's body trembled with adrenaline. She pressed her bag to her chest, trying to steady her breathing, but the echoes of the dog's desperate barking still rang in her ears. Officers lingered, murmuring to one another, their initial suspicion replaced by a mixture of embarrassment and concern. The crowd of travelers slowly dispersed, some offering sympathetic glances, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Tasha, however, couldn't focus on them. Her attention was consumed by the fact that the dog's instincts had saved her, had revealed a danger she couldn't have imagined. As she moved toward the security line, her steps slow and careful, a young officer approached, notepad in hand. "Ma'am," he said hesitantly, We We just want to make sure everything is okay. Can we check your bag? Tasha's heart skipped a beat. After the chaos that had just unfolded, she didn't want anyone touching her things, but she understood the protocol. Go ahead, she whispered, opening the zipper with shaking fingers. The officer peered inside, eyes widening slightly as he saw the neat arrangement of her belongings. Baby clothes folded with care, a notebook, her wallet, a few personal items. Nothing dangerous, nothing threatening. The officer looked at Tasha with a mix of relief and apology. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, he said quietly. We were reacting to the dog. It's trained to detect threats we might not immediately see, and today, it was overzealous. Tasha nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was grateful, of course, but her body still buzzed with the tension of what had nearly happened. One wrong move, one misinterpretation, and the story could have ended very differently. She moved forward, cleared through the metal detector, and placed her bag on the conveyor belt. The machine beeped normally, and she exhaled, relief washing over her in waves. Still, every nerve in her body remained on edge. Her mind replayed the scene repeatedly: the dog, the officers, the terrified bird trapped in the luggage cart. How close she had come to being misjudged, misinterpreted, or worse. She clutched her stomach, feeling her baby kick as if the little life inside her understood the gravity of the moment. After retrieving her bag, Tasha walked briskly toward the waiting area, hoping to put the ordeal behind her. But then she noticed something. A small crowd had gathered near the terminal gates, whispering urgently. Curious and cautious, she approached, careful not to draw attention to herself. As she got closer, she realized the whispers were about the same incident she had just survived. Some travelers were shaking their heads in disbelief. Others were recording videos on their phones. In an instant, she realized that the airport had already started turning the situation into a story, another viral moment, another example of chaos that could spread across social media in minutes. Tasha's stomach tightened. She didn't want attention, didn't want to be judged or misrepresented. She only wanted to reach her destination, to sit down and breathe. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. One of the officers, the handler of the dog, approached her again. His expression was serious, but not unkind. Ma'am, he said, the dog, it's unusual for him to react like that. There's something about the bag. It set off instincts we didn't expect. Tasha frowned, confused. What do you mean? She asked. He hesitated, then gestured toward the bag. Sometimes, K9 units can detect faint traces of substances, materials, even biological threats. Nothing was in your bag, obviously, but the reaction was stronger than normal. We need to make sure this wasn't a fluke. Can we check it again, thoroughly? Tasha's pulse quickened, but she nodded. I understand, she said. Deep down, she knew this was another test, another moment of tension she had to survive. The second inspection was meticulous. Officers checked every compartment, every zipper, every small item, while Tasha stood nearby, her arms crossed protectively over her stomach. Passengers walked past, some shooting curious glances, others whispering about the incident. Her heart hammered in her chest as the minutes stretched endlessly. And then, finally, the head officer stepped forward, holding up his hands. Ma'am, it's clear, there's nothing. Your bag is completely safe. It's all fine. Relief crashed over her like a wave, but it was tinged with lingering anxiety. The airport had become a stage for tension, a place where a misunderstanding could have escalated beyond control. Tasha grabbed her bag and began moving toward the gate. She tried to focus on something else, the excitement of seeing her family, the thought of the baby's upcoming arrival, the hope of returning home safely. But the image of the dog, barking desperately, refusing to look away, remained burned in her mind. It had been more than an animal. It had been a guardian, a warning system she hadn't understood until the moment was over. As she reached the gate, she paused, glancing back at the security area. The officers were resuming their duties, travelers moving along as if nothing had happened. But Tasha knew better. She had survived a situation that could have ended in fear or tragedy, guided by instincts she didn't fully understand. Her hand rested on her stomach, feeling the baby kick gently. A small, quiet smile broke through her anxiety. Life, fragile and unpredictable, had given her a second chance. With a deep breath, Tasha moved forward, boarding the plane with her bag held tightly and her mind racing. She knew the story wasn't over. Not yet. There would be questions, rumors, and memories of the police dog's frantic warnings. But for now, she allowed herself to feel gratitude, relief, and cautious hope. Every step forward was a reminder of what she had survived, and what could have been lost if instincts had failed, or if fear had overtaken reason. Tasha settled into her seat by the window, trying to calm her racing heart as the hum of the plane's engines filled the cabin. She clutched her bag tightly, still shaken from the airport ordeal, and glanced down at her growing belly. Every kick reminded her that her baby was safe, yet the memory of the dog's frantic barking lingered like a warning she couldn't fully comprehend. She had survived the chaos, but deep down, she felt that the night was far from over. As the plane taxied down the runway, Tasha's thoughts drifted back to the terminal. She couldn't stop replaying the scene in her mind. The canine's eyes, the growls that cut through the air, the officer's tense expressions. Something about the intensity of the dog's reaction gnawed at her. It hadn't been just a fluke, not ordinary detection training. Max, the police dog, had been reacting to something real, something urgent, and she hadn't understood it until the moment passed. The flight attendants went through the usual safety instructions, but Tasha barely noticed. Her mind was racing, thinking about her life, her baby, and the invisible line she had crossed without knowing it. She had always been careful, mindful of her surroundings, but the incident at the airport had reminded her how quickly life could spiral out of control. Every person in that terminal, every officer, every traveler had played a role in a delicate balance. One misstep and the story could have ended very differently. Then, just as she began to relax slightly, a man sitting across the aisle leaned over, lowering his voice. "Excuse me, miss," he said cautiously. "I couldn't help but notice what happened back there. The dog, it wasn't wrong. That bag of yours, someone must have reported it. Something about it triggered alerts before you even walked in." His tone was hushed, almost conspiratorial. Tasha's pulse spiked again. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying not to draw attention. He glanced around nervously, then whispered, "There's been a string of incidents at this airport. Packages with dangerous contents, smuggled items, security has been on edge. That dog reacts faster than humans, and you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That bag, it wasn't you, it was what was reported before the terminal even opened today. You triggered something you didn't even know about." Tasha's stomach churned. She opened her bag slightly, peeking inside again. Everything was exactly as it should be. Her notebook, baby clothes, wallet, nothing unusual. But the man's words planted a seed of unease. What if someone had tried to set her up? What if the canine's instincts had been responding to a threat linked to her, even though she was innocent? Fear gripped her chest like an iron fist, and she pressed her hand against her belly, as if shielding her baby could protect them both from the invisible danger. The plane leveled off, and the captain's voice came over the intercom, announcing a smooth flight, free of turbulence. Yet Tasha couldn't shake the unease. She glanced at the man, who smiled faintly, offering reassurance. "Don't worry," he said. "You're okay. The dog saved you, probably before anyone even realized it. You've got an instinct protector you didn't even know about." But his words were thin comfort. The idea that danger had come so close, that she had been unknowingly targeted, lingered like a shadow over her. Hours passed slowly. Tasha tried to distract herself, watching the clouds pass below the window, taking deep breaths and reminding herself that she and her baby were safe. Yet, every time she closed her eyes, she saw the dog, Max, straining at the leash, barking desperately at her bag. She realized something profound. Sometimes, life isn't about control. It's about awareness, vigilance, and the instinctive courage of beings around us, even when we don't understand it. Then, as the plane began its descent toward her destination, her phone buzzed. She picked it up and saw a series of missed calls and messages. Most were from her sister, but one was from an unknown number. Hesitating, she answered. "Hello," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Ms. Williams," a man's voice said. "This is Officer Daniels from Airport Security. We need to speak with you immediately. There's been a development regarding the incident at the terminal." Tasha's breath caught. What kind of development?" she asked, panic creeping in again. He continued, voice urgent but steady. We reviewed the security footage and cross-referenced reports from the day. The dog's reaction wasn't just random. It was triggered by a package that was reported stolen. The authorities now believe that someone planted it near your path intentionally. You weren't the target, but you were the closest person to it when the alert occurred. We need your cooperation to ensure everything is documented and safe for travel. Tasha's mind spun. Someone had orchestrated a setup? How close had she been to disaster? She clutched her bag tighter, feeling her baby kick as if reacting to the tension in the room. Her heart raced with fear, adrenaline, and an unexpected surge of anger. How dare anyone put her in that position? How dare someone gamble with her life and the life of her unborn child? As the plane touched down and taxis toward the gate, Tasha realized one thing. This story was far from over. The police dog had saved her once, alerted humans to a hidden danger, and prevented a potential tragedy. But now, the mystery of why it had reacted and who was behind the threat hung over her like a storm cloud. She knew she had to be cautious, alert, and ready for whatever came next. Stepping off the plane, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her bag felt heavier, not because of its contents, but because it carried the memory of what had almost happened and the looming uncertainty of what she would discover next. One thing was clear. The police dog's desperate barking had changed the course of her life forever, and Tasha understood that she would never underestimate instinct, courage, or the invisible forces protecting her, even when she couldn't see them. Tasha's hands trembled as she exited the plane, the cool terminal air doing little to calm the storm in her chest. Her bag pressed against her side like a lifeline, a reminder of how close she had come to catastrophe. Every step toward the terminal's main hall felt heavier than the last. The airport, normally a place of routine and transition, now felt like a maze of invisible threats. Every announcement over the loudspeakers, every passerby, made her heart race. She could still hear, in her mind, the desperate barking of Max, the police dog, warning her of danger no one else had noticed. An officer was waiting near the exit, Officer Daniels, the same one who had called her mid-flight. His face was serious, lined with concern. "Ms. Williams, thank you for coming," he said briskly. "We need to go over what happened in more detail. Can you come with me to a secure area?" Tasha nodded silently, swallowing the lump in her throat. Her baby kicked sharply, almost as if agreeing that she needed to comply. They walked briskly to a small, quiet office away from the main terminal. Officer Daniels gestured for her to sit, while he pulled up a security monitor. "We've reviewed all footage and cross-referenced flight manifests," he said. "Here's the thing. We believe someone tried to create a diversion. That bag that triggered Max's reaction was reported stolen earlier today from a cargo shipment. You weren't the intended target, but your path intersected with it at the worst possible moment." Tasha's mind raced. "Someone planted it? Near me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Her fingers tightened on her bag. The thought that someone had deliberately placed danger so close to her, knowing she was pregnant and vulnerable, sent a chill through her body. She tried to remember if she had seen anyone suspicious, anyone acting strangely, but the terminal had been crowded, and she had been focused on moving safely to the checkpoint. Officer Daniels continued, "The good news is that Max's instincts prevented a potential disaster. That dog didn't bark at you. It barked at the threat itself. Without him, we wouldn't have been able to locate the package in time. He literally saved lives, including yours and the baby's." Tasha swallowed hard, eyes wide with gratitude and lingering fear. The dog, once a figure of terror, had now become a silent hero in her mind. Suddenly, a knock at the door startled her. A younger officer stepped in, carrying a small, sealed evidence bag. "Ms. Williams, we found this in the same area where Max reacted. We're documenting it for investigation, but we wanted you to see it." Tasha's stomach churned. Inside the bag was a small, electronic device, something she didn't understand but could sense was dangerous. Her hands shook as she realized how close she had come to disaster. If the dog hadn't reacted, if she had hesitated, even for a second, the consequences could have been catastrophic. Officer Daniels leaned forward, voice firm. "We're investigating who placed this and why. It appears targeted, though not directly at you. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We want to ensure you're safe from further incidents, and we need your cooperation as we track the source." Tasha nodded, her mind spinning. She felt a mix of fear, anger, and disbelief. Who would do such a thing? And why? As they spoke, Tasha's phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from her sister. Call me as soon as you land. Something's not right. Her stomach tightened further. Even outside the airport, she realized danger had a way of following her. She wondered if her sister had somehow known, if she was picking up on something Tasha couldn't yet see. Officer Daniels noticed her distraction. Are you okay, Ms. Williams? He asked gently. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I just feel like I'm being watched, she admitted. Like someone knows where I am, what I'm carrying. His expression grew serious. It's possible, he said, which is why we're taking extra precautions. Max's reaction may have prevented this first incident, but we can't assume it's over. You need to be cautious. Tasha nodded slowly, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She had never felt so exposed, so aware of the fragility of her safety. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, to get home, to protect herself and her baby at all costs. Yet, even as fear coursed through her, she felt a strange sense of determination. The dog had saved her once. She would survive this, too. She couldn't let whoever was behind this threaten her life or the life of her unborn child. Officer Daniels escorted her to a secured exit, ensuring she was not exposed to the terminal crowd. As Tasha stepped outside, sunlight hitting her face, she realized how fragile the line between safety and danger truly was. She clutched her bag, feeling its weight, not just the physical contents, but the reminder of what she had survived. Max's barking, the frantic officers, the hidden device. It all became part of a story she would never forget. As she got into a waiting car, she allowed herself a moment of relief, though it was tempered with wariness. The threat was not fully understood, the perpetrator still unknown. Yet she also felt a surge of gratitude for the dog's instincts, for the officers who acted quickly, and for the fragile thread of luck that had kept her alive. Every bump along the road, every passing car, reminded her of the unseen danger that lurked nearby, but also of her own resilience. One thought kept repeating in her mind: instincts can save lives. Courage can come in the most unexpected forms. And sometimes, survival depends not just on vigilance, but on recognizing the heroes who act before anyone else realizes the threat. As the car drove her away from the terminal, Tasha pressed her bag to her stomach once more and whispered to her baby, "We're safe, for now." Tasha sat in the car, gripping her bag tightly, as Officer Daniels drove through the city streets. Every honk, every passerby, made her flinch. She had survived the airport ordeal, but a lingering sense of unease clung to her like a shadow. The thought that someone had deliberately placed a dangerous device near her, knowing she was pregnant and vulnerable, made her stomach twist with fear. She had narrowly avoided disaster once, and now the unknown threat still loomed. Officer Daniels broke the silence. "We've traced the origin of the package. Surveillance footage shows someone placing it near your path deliberately. But here's the thing, they didn't follow through fully. Max, the dog, intervened before the plan could escalate. We believe whoever did this may still be watching, trying to see your reaction." Tasha's hand tightened around her bag. "Watching me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The officer nodded gravely. Her mind raced. Who could have done this? Who would risk her life for reasons she couldn't even fathom? The thought of a stranger plotting against her and her unborn child made her shiver. Yet, through the fear, a spark of determination ignited. She had survived because she stayed calm, because she obeyed the officers, because Max had done what humans sometimes couldn't. She would not let this person intimidate her, not now. They arrived at a secure building, a special operations facility connected to airport security. Officers escorted her inside, guiding her through corridors filled with surveillance monitors and agents speaking in low, urgent tones. Tasha's eyes darted nervously, her heart pounding, but she forced herself to walk with steady steps. Every fiber of her being was alert. This was no longer just about surviving. It was about understanding the threat and taking back control. In a conference room, she was shown the surveillance footage. On the monitors, a figure could be seen lingering near the airport terminal earlier that day, moving with purpose, placing a suspicious object near the baggage carousel. The clarity of the footage was enough to identify the person, a man in his 30s, nondescript clothing, but the pattern of his behavior unmistakable. Tasha's stomach twisted. She could feel the danger as if it were a living thing, an invisible presence that had followed her across the terminal. Officer Daniels explained, "We've alerted local authorities. That individual has a record, nothing violent, but enough to show he has a history of trying to manipulate situations like this. We believe he intended to create chaos, and you were an accidental target because of your path through the terminal." Tasha's breath caught. "Accidental?" she whispered. "This could have ended my life." "Yes," Daniels replied softly. "But Max, the dog, detected the threat before it could escalate. You were saved by instinct, not luck. The system worked, but you were at the center of it." Tasha nodded slowly, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She realized that survival sometimes depended on forces beyond understanding, training, intuition, and in her case, a dog who refused to ignore danger. After reviewing the footage, Tasha was escorted to a secure exit. As she stepped outside, sunlight bathed her face, and she took a deep breath, feeling the warmth on her skin. The world felt normal again. The cars, the pedestrians, the distant sound of traffic, but she knew better. Danger existed even in ordinary places. Awareness was the shield, and courage, the willingness to act wisely in moments of fear, was the armor. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her sister, frantic but relieved. "Tasha, are you okay? I saw the news about the airport incident." Tasha smiled faintly, gripping her bag against her belly. "I'm okay. It was close, too close. But I'm safe, and the baby is fine." She paused, feeling a gentle kick from her unborn child. "Thanks to someone very special," she added softly, thinking of Max. The story of that day would stay with her forever. The airport, the barking dog, the dangerous device, the officer's quick thinking, it all formed a memory etched into her mind. But more than anything, she understood a truth that she would carry for the rest of her life. Sometimes, help comes in forms you don't expect. Courage doesn't always wear a uniform, and heroes sometimes bark before anyone else realizes the danger. Weeks later, as Tasha prepared for her baby's arrival, she received a small package from the airport security team. Inside was a note, "For the baby, and for the bravery you showed. Max won't forget you either." Alongside the note was a small plush dog, a symbol of the K-9 who had saved her life. She held it close, tears streaming down her face, feeling the weight of everything she had endured. The incident had changed her, but it had also taught her the power of vigilance, instinct, and gratitude. That night, as she sat in her nursery, cradling the plush dog and feeling her baby kick softly, Tasha whispered, "We survived. We're safe, and we'll never forget who watched over us." In that quiet moment, she realized that true heroism wasn't always in headlines or news stories. It was in the actions that saved lives when no one was looking. And somewhere, in a secure part of the airport, Max lay resting, ears twitching at distant sounds, ready to bark again if danger dared to approach. Tasha knew that the world could be unpredictable, even cruel, but she also knew that courage, instinct, and resilience were forces no one could take away. She had survived, her baby had survived, and the story of that day would live on as a testament to the unexpected heroes who protect us when we need it most. If you were on the edge of your seat with Tasha's story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling, real-life inspired stories that keep you hooked until the very last moment. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that could change the way you see the world. Your support means the world, and we've got even more jaw-dropping stories coming your way.